He died in August. Not from the heat, from a person. But the heat was everywhere. It was the background of everything. It was the cause of the person who killed him, and the cause of everything that led to that moment. Lee Jun-so remembered it clearly. A warehouse on the outskirts of Busan. 41 degrees outside, worse inside, the metal walls held the heat like an oven. They were going for water, he and 2 others from their group. They found a tank. They did not know that the tank already belonged to someone. The owner explained it quickly and without words. Darkness. Then another darkness. Quieter. Deeper. Then the ceiling of his apartment in Seoul. A crack on the left. The fan humming. The phone on the bedside table. He lay there and looked at the ceiling for a minute. 2. Then took the phone. Looked at the date. March 3rd. 5 months until the beginning. Outside the window was an ordinary March. Cool, gray, people in jackets on the street. The coffee shop across the street opening. A man with a dog, children by the school. None of them know. Jun-so got up, poured water from the tap, drank slowly. He thought about what March had been like in his first life. Cool, ordinary, the last normal month. In April, the temperature began to creep up. Not sharply, gradually, as if nature wanted everyone to get used to it little by little, not notice the point of no return. May, plus 35 is the norm. June 40, July 45. Mass deaths from heat stroke. Governments around the world declared states of emergency one after another. August, 50 in some regions. Cities at the equator uninhabitable. Seoul 43, Busan 46. And beyond that, he did not know. He died in August, did not live to see what would be in September and after. But I know enough. Jun-so put down the glass, sat at the table, took a notebook, wrote one word in large letters. Shelter. The system did not appear immediately. He did not know about it in his first life. No one knew. It was one of those discoveries made too late. The apocalypse brought not only heat, something else invisible that began to manifest in some people. Randomly, unpredictably, without rules. In this life, the system appeared the day after he returned. It simply appeared. In the morning, when he was brushing his teeth. System activated. Survivor's luck. Host, Lee Jun-so. Description, random item drop. A chance to obtain an item from the surroundings or out of nowhere under certain conditions. The chance varies from 0.1% to 99% depending on the situation and the system level. Additional function, chance analysis when focusing on an action or dialogue. The system shows the probability of success. Current level, 1 base drop chance, 12% system message. Luck is not randomness. It is what remains when everything else ends. He looked at it for a long time. Not at the text, at the principle. Random drop, random. In his first life, he died because he had no resources. Had no water, food, protection. A group of 6 people, in July they lost 3 from heat stroke. In August he went for water and found a knife in his side. Resources. Everything comes down to resources. A system that generates items even with a small chance is not little. It is a lot if used correctly. And chance analysis means knowing the probability before you act. Before you speak. Before you decide. Jun-so looked at his reflection in the bathroom mirror. 28 years old. A construction engineer by education, worked at a construction company for 3 years. Quit half a year ago, the company was downsizing, he was laid off. A construction engineer to build a shelter. He smiled for the first time since returning. Briefly, sometimes coincidences are not coincidences. The first problem was money. A shelter is not built out of thin air. He needed land, materials, equipment. The money he had was modest from his last job, from what he had managed to save. Enough for a down payment on something small. Not enough for what he planned. He sat at the laptop and thought. Chance analysis applies to specific actions. Let us see. He focused mentally as if aiming at the idea. Find an investor for a construction project. The system answered. Chance analysis. Action, searching for an investor through standard channels. Chance of success, 8%. Note, low chance. Reason, no connections, no portfolio, no convincing pitch, 8%. Bad, he thought. Another approach. Cryptocurrency, focus. Chance analysis. Action, short-term cryptocurrency trading. Chance of profit within a month. 31% chance of loss, 69%. Note: high risk. Bad. Stocks. Chance analysis action. Investment in air conditioning and cooling companies. Chance of profit in 3 months, 847%. Note: in conditions of approaching warming, demand for cooling will soar. The market has not reacted yet. He looked at the number. 847%. Because the world still did not know what was coming. Air conditioning companies were now an ordinary, boring industry. In 2 months, when the temperature started creeping up, they would become gold. He knows. They do not. Junso opened a brokerage account. He invested everything he had. Bought shares of 3 companies, manufacturers of industrial air conditioners, 1 Korean, 1 German, 1 American, and a producer of sun protection membranes for buildings, a small company from Japan that nobody knew. Press the button, close the laptop. Now wait. While he waited, a drop. The first in this life. He was walking through the construction market, looking at materials, studying prices, estimating what would be needed. Just walking and looking. And his pocket became heavier. He stopped. Slid his hand in. A key. Metallic, old, with a tag on which something erased was written. The key was warm, as if it had just come out of someone's pocket. System drop received. Item: key to the unknown rarity. Uncommon. Description: a key to something that is waiting. What exactly, you will know when you find it. The drop chance had been 12%. He looked at the key. Key to the unknown. Useless now. Or not, just unclear. Put it into his pocket, remembered it. The stocks grew by 90% in 3 weeks. In mid-April, the first news headlines appeared: anomalous spring. Temperature records around the world. Scientists warn of critical warming. The market began to react. Stocks in the cooling industry started going up. His positions were up 120% by the end of April. He sold a third. Locked in profit. There is money. Not huge, but there is. Now land. He searched for a week. Chance analysis on every option. A plot in the mountains of North Chungcheong. 3 hours from Seoul. A small plateau surrounded by rock massives to the north and west. A source of underground water according to old geological maps. Elevation 800 meters above sea level. Elevation matters. The higher, the cooler. Every 100 meters minus 0.6 of a degree on average. 800 meters minus almost 5 degrees relative to the plain. When it is 45 in Seoul, here it will be 40. The difference is life. Chance analysis. Action. Purchase of a plot in North Chungcheong. Chance that the plot is suitable for long-term survival. 71%. Note: high potential. Risk. Geological instability under extreme temperatures has not been studied. 71% was the best the system had shown in all the days of searching. He bought it. The deal went quietly. The seller was glad to get rid of a useless mountain plot for little money. Looked at Junso with slight condescension. Some city oddball bought rocks. Junso signed the documents. Did not smile. We will see who is the oddball in 4 months. Building alone was impossible. He knew this from the very beginning. He was an engineer. He understood the volume of work. An underground shelter designed for the long-term stay of a group of people with ventilation and cooling systems, with supplies of water and food. That is at least 6 to 8 months of work for a crew of 10 people. He had 5, and not a crew. So smarter. Not more hands, better every hour. He hired 3 through a construction firm without explanations. Said he was building a country bunker for storage. People did not ask extra questions. The money was paid in cash, above the market rate. Foreman Song Gi-chan. 50 years old, wiry, taciturn, built all his life. On the first day, they stood on the plot. Gi-chan looked at the rock massif, at the plateau, at the plan Junso had drawn. Why so deep? Gi-chan asked. 12 meters down is expensive and long. It is necessary, said Junso. For storage, 12 meters is not necessary. Chance analysis of telling the truth. 23% that he will believe and stay to work. Lying convincingly, 67%. I am paranoid, said Junso. I study apocalyptic scenarios as a hobby. I want a real bunker. Gi-chan looked at him. Rich oddballs, he said, without anger. You pay, we build. Good. They dug. Junso worked beside them, did not command from the side, dug. Gichan watched this from the first day with surprise, then accepted it as a given. The second drop, in mid-May. He was standing above the excavation pit looking at the work, and a blueprint appeared in his hand. A sheet of paper yellowed with a detailed diagram of a ventilation system. Drop received. Item: Stiller ventilation blueprint. Rarity: rare description. A passive ventilation scheme for underground structures, developed by the German engineer Stiller in 1943. Works without electricity, uses the temperature difference. The drop chance had been 4%, 4%. Lucky. He looked at the blueprint. Without electricity. This is important when the infrastructure collapses. When power plants shut down from overheating, from overload, a system is needed that works by itself. In the evening, he redrew it, adapted it to his structure. Gichan looked at the new plan in the morning. "Where is this from?" he asked. "Developed it," said Junso. "Overnight?" "Yes." Gichan looked at the scheme. "For a long time, then at Junso." "You are an engineer?" "Construction. Why did you not say so right away?" "You did not ask." Gichan looked at the scheme again. Something in his face changed, the kind of respect that practitioners have when they see that the person they are talking to is also a practitioner. "Smart," he said. "Passive draft." Pause. "But it is wrong here. If the mountain rock heats up outside, the temperature difference will change." He took a pencil. "Need to add a buffer zone." Junso looked. "Show me." Gichan showed him. He was right. Good. Gichan was not just a worker. May was ending. The temperature was plus 32 in Seoul. For May, an anomaly. The news talked about the anomaly. Experts explained. The government promised to investigate. On the mountain plot, 26. Cool, bearable. The excavation pit, 4 meters. The stocks, plus 300% from the initial price. He sold another third. The money went into the construction. He drove to the city for materials. Seoul had changed. Not much yet, not catastrophically, but people walked differently, faster in the shade, avoiding direct sunlight. Cafes with air conditioners were overcrowded. Construction stores had lines for fans. Junso was walking through Seon, a list in his hands. Rebar, thermal insulation panels, sealants. Chance analysis in the background, not always, only when needed. He had learned to turn it on and off. It saved his head. At the intersection of streets, he stopped. Not because of the traffic light. A woman by a shop window was looking at her phone. About 30, in light clothes. Next to her on the sidewalk were rolled-up blueprints. Architectural, he recognized the characteristic format. The blueprints were falling. She did not notice was looking at the phone, talking to someone. Junso picked them up, held them out. She turned around, interrupted the conversation. "Thank you," she said. Briefly, distractedly. Took them. Back to the phone. He walked on. Chance analysis switched on by itself. Chance analysis. Situation: woman with architectural blueprints. Action: start a conversation. Chance of a useful acquaintance: 58%. Note: architect or engineer. Specialization unknown. May be useful for the project: 58%. He stopped, turned around. "Excuse me," he said. "Are you an architect?" She looked at him with the expression that appears when a stranger starts a conversation. "Evaluation. Ventilation and climate control engineer," she said. Wonso looked. "Ventilation, climate control. Sometimes the system works exactly like this." "Lee Jun-so," he said. "Construction engineer. I have a project that requires a serious climate control system." Pause. "Are you busy?" She looked at him. "Is this a pickup line?" she asked. "No," said Jun-so. The look was not a look, it was the system. He focused. Chance analysis. Action: explain the project honestly. Chance that she will agree to listen: 44%. Action: show the blueprints. Chance that she will agree: 71%. He took out the phone, found the photos, shelter plans, cross-sections, diagrams. Held it out. She looked for a second, then took the phone. Looked longer. "This is a bunker," she said. "Yes, a real one." She flipped through the photos. 12 meters deep, passive ventilation, heat exchanger. She stopped. Is this the Stiller system? No one has used it since the 40s. Adapted, said Jun-so. There is an error here, she said. Pointed with a finger. I know, fixed it yesterday. He swiped. Here. She looked. Better. But the buffer zone here is insufficient if the outside temperature rises above 45. I calculated for a maximum of 48. 48 in the mountains means 55 on the plain. She looked at him. This is an apocalyptic scenario. Yes, are you paranoid? People ask me that often. She looked at him for another second. Im So-yeon, she said. I am free at 4. There is a cafe a block away. The air conditioning there is decent. Show me the full plans. Good. In the cafe, they talked for 3 hours. So-yeon, he studied her while he spoke, was one of those people who do not chatter. Every word precise, technically calibrated. When she saw a mistake, she spoke directly, without softening. These ventilation channels here will create turbulence under a high temperature difference, she said. The pencil moved across his printout. It needs to be moved here. And add a damper, otherwise noise. Noise is not critical. Noise during a long stay is stress. Stress is conflict. She looked. For a bunker, that is critical. She thinks about people, not only about engineering. Have you built shelters before? He asked. No. So-yeon put down the pencil. I designed climate control systems for factories, hospitals, server rooms. The principles are the same. Critical environment, zero room for error. She looked at him. Why right now? This spring? Chance analysis of telling the truth. 19% that she will believe and stay. To speak of heat as the reason, 62%. Climate trends, said Jun-so, the latest data. I think the coming summer will be worse than they officially say. How much worse? Much worse. So-yeon looked at him. Chance analysis switched on by itself. Chance analysis. Situation. So-yeon is listening. Action. Tell the full truth. Chance 31%. Note, the chance will rise if evidence is shown. Evidence unavailable. I am offering you to join the project, he said. Officially. As the designer of the climate system, I pay the market rate plus 20%. Pause. And when summer comes, you will have a place. So-yeon looked. A place in the bunker? Yes, this is a strange offer. Yes, why should I trust you? Chance analysis of what to answer. Chance analysis. Action. Trust or do not trust, but look at the numbers. Chance of success, 77%. Do not trust me, said Jun-so. Look at April's temperature. At May's, at the forecasts that are coming true faster than the models. He looked straight ahead. Trust not me. The numbers. So-yeon was silent. Then she took the pencil again. The buffer zone is needed here, she said. And here. And the heat exchanger needs to be moved. Jun-so looked at the changes. Agreed. I will come to the site this Friday, said So-yeon. I will see what is there, then I will decide. Good. She stood up, gathered the blueprints. Jun-so, Mr. Jun-so, she said at the door. Yes, if you are right about the summer, you are a very smart man. And if I am not right? Then just a paranoid man with good blueprints, she said, and left. 37 in June was no longer news, it was the norm. The news was 39 in the first week of July. Then 41. 43. The government declared a state of emergency in 6 provinces. Schools were closed, factories worked at night, air conditioners in short supply. The stocks of companies that make air conditioners in the stratosphere. His stocks, he sold the last third at the end of June, plus 870% from the initial price. There is money. On the site, progress. The excavation pit, 8 meters. The reinforced concrete walls were poured in layers with heat-insulating additives that So-yeon suggested. So-yeon arrived on the first Friday and stayed. Not officially, without announcing it, she simply came again the next week. And again. Gi-chan accepted her silently as he accepted everything. They found common ground through blueprints, through practice, without extra words. The third drop. Drop received item. Set of heat-resistant crop seeds. Rarity, rare description. 47 types of crops bred for extreme heat conditions. Germinate at temperatures up to 50 degrees Celsius. Yield at 45 degrees Celsius. The drop chance had been 7%. He looked at the small packet in his hand. Dense with small seeds inside. No markings, just a packet. Seeds. Food, the second critical resource after water. He showed So-yeon. She looked. Where is this from? Found it. Where? In my pocket. She looked at him. In your pocket? Yes. Jun-so, Mr. Jun-so, she said slowly. You sometimes say things that sound strange. I know, and items appear in your pocket. Sometimes. A long pause. A system? She said quietly. He looked at her. You know about systems? He asked. Heard of them. So-yeon looked at the seeds. My friend, something appeared for her. In May. She spoke. Pause. What do you have? Random item drop. And chance analysis. Chance analysis, she repeated. When you stopped me on the street, were you checking the chance? Yes, and? 58% that it would be a useful acquaintance. She looked at him for several seconds. I am flattered, she said. Without irony, or with very dry irony. The chance turned out to be correct. Yes. She took the packet of seeds. We need a greenhouse. Inside the shelter, a separate section with a controlled microclimate. That is more complicated. I know how to do it. She opened the notebook. Hydroponics, closed water cycle, lighting from a backup generator, pencil on paper. We add another 3 weeks to the schedule. We do not have 3 weeks to spare, then we add people. Whom? So-yeon looked at him. I have 2 people I can call, she said. If you are ready to expand the list of those who will have a place here. Jun-so thought. Chance analysis of accepting the people So-yeon offers. Chance analysis. Action. Accept the people recommended by So-yeon chance that they will be useful and not create problems. 83%. Note, trust in So-yeon is high. Her choice of people is likely justified. Good, said Jun-so. You did not even ask who they are? 83% that they will fit. Enough. So-yeon looked at him. You are a very strange man. Lee Jun-so, she said. People tell me. The first of the 2 was Park Tae-yong, 35 years old, an agronomist. So-yeon had known him from university. Short, with the permanently tanned face of a person who spent a lot of time in the sun until recently. Arrived at the site, examined the plot, looked at the southwest slope for a long time. Underground water here, he said. According to the maps, yes, said Jun-so. Need to check. A well is mandatory. If the outside temperature rises above 50, any surface source will dry up or become dangerous. I planned a well. Planned is not the same as done. Tae-yang looked at the excavation pit. First the well. Everything else later. Chance analysis of agreeing. Chance analysis. Action, move the well to priority. Chance that this is the right decision, 91%. We changed the priority, Jun-so said to Gi-chan. The well comes first? Gi-chan looked at Tae-yang. At Jun-so, nodded. The second person from So-yeon was Kim Hae-jin. 27 years old, a medic, an emergency medical technician. Small, with that sharp attentiveness of medics used to emergency situations. She arrived, inspected the shelter. Where is the medical section, she asked. Not allocated yet. Need a separate one, isolated. In heat stroke cases, immediate help is needed. Cannot carry someone through the whole shelter. She was already walking around the excavation pit, measuring with steps. Here, next to the main entrance. That changes the plan. It does. She looked at him. Heat stroke kills in an hour. At a temperature of 50, anyone who has been outside for more than 15 minutes without protection will be at risk. Pause. The medical section is not an option. It is mandatory. Chance analysis. 95% that she is right. Good, said Jun-so. There were now 5 of them at the site. Jun-so? Gi-chan with 2 workers. So-yeon. Tae-yang. Hae-jin. They worked from dawn till sunset until it became too hot. Afternoon, a break in the shade with water. They resumed work in the evening. The well, they found water at 9 meters. Clean, cold. Tae-yang took samples, sent them to a laboratory that was still operating in the city. The result? Good water. Very good. Jun-so stood above the well and looked into the dark water below. Water, the most valuable thing that will exist in this world. The 4th drop. Drop received item, Niri-eye filtration system. Rarity. Epic description, compact multi-stage water purification system. Capacity 500 liters per hour. Works without electricity on pressure difference. Removes heavy metals, organics, pathogens. The drop chance had been 1.2%. He looked at the small cylindrical module in his hands. 1 2/10%. Epic. Tae Yang looked at the module with the expression of an agronomist seeing good equipment. Is this cereal? He asked. No, said Junso. Where did you get it? In my pocket. Pause. I see, said Taeyang. He was already used to it. On the 1st of August, 48 in Seoul. Mass evacuations began officially. The government declared the relocation of the population to northern regions. The roads were overloaded. The trains were overcrowded. At the site, 9 meters were ready. 3 sections were functioning. The well was connected. The Narai filter was installed, but not finished. Not finished yet. And then the first real problem. Gi-chan came to Junso in the evening, alone without the workers. Sat opposite. Speak, said Junso. My workers are leaving, said Gi-chan. Families. They want to go to their families in the north. I understand. Gi-chan looked at his hands. My daughter is in Incheon. Alone. She is 22. He raised his eyes. I cannot stay. Junso looked at him. Chance analysis of keeping Gi-chan. Chance analysis. Action, offer money to keep him. Chance 14%. Action, offer a place for his daughter. Chance 78%. Where is your daughter now? Junso asked. In Incheon, as I said. Call her. Tell her to come here. Gi-chan looked. There is a place for her here? Yes. You are saying this just so that I stay and work. Chance analysis of telling the truth. Chance analysis. Action. Say that this is also part of it. Chance that he will appreciate the honesty? 84%. That too, said Junso, but also because she is alone in a city where it is 48 degrees. And it will get worse. Pause. It is not only benefit, it is logic. Gi-chan was silent for a long time, then stood up, went out. An hour later returned. My daughter is coming tomorrow, he said. I will persuade the workers to stay another week. I cannot promise more. A week is enough, said Junso. He did not know for certain, but chance analysis. Action. Finish the critical sections in a week. Chance 61%. 61%. We work. Gi-chan's daughter Song Ae-ryum arrived the next day. Junso had expected anyone. He saw a girl in a dusty car with 2 bags with the look of a person who understood earlier than others what was happening. Got out. Looked over the site. Dad said he was building a bunker for an oddball, she said to Gi-chan. He did, that one agreed. Dad was right about the bunker. She looked at Junso. About the oddball, we are still looking. Fair, said Junso. I am a nurse, said Ae-ryum, and I can cook. Pause. Useful? Yes, then what should I do? Hae-jin was already approaching with the expression of a person who had received an assistant she did not expect. On the 10th of August, 51 in Seoul. The news channels worked intermittently. The government's last official announcement had been 4 days ago. Mobile networks were overloaded. At the site, 10 out of 12 meters were completed. All critical sections were functioning. The greenhouse was ready. Tae Yang had already planted the first crops. Not finished, the last 2 meters of side corridors, and the external thermal insulation of the second entrance. Junso stood above at 6 in the morning while it was still tolerable. Looked at the horizon. To the south, a haze. Not fog. Heat shimmer. His phone was still working for now. A message from an unknown number. You are building in the mountains of North Chungcheong. I know. I need to talk to you. It is important. Lee Sang-woo. Junso looked at the message. Chance analysis of replying. Chance analysis. Situation, a stranger knows about the project. Action, reply and agree to meet. Chance that the meeting will be useful. 52% chance that the meeting will be dangerous. 31%. Note, ambiguous. The source of information about the project is unknown. 52 against 31. Junso typed a reply. Who are you and how do you know? The answer came a minute later. I know because I am doing the same thing. Only I do not have your system, and I am running out of money. But I have something you do not have. Junso looked. What do you have? People. 42 people, with nowhere to go. Pause. And information about what will happen in September. I am a scientist, a climatologist. I know figures you do not know. Junso stood on the plateau at 6 in the morning, in 32 degrees that would become 40 in 3 hours, looking at the message. 42 people is a lot. Too many for his shelter in its current form, but a climatologist who knows what will happen in September. Chance analysis of accepting. Chance analysis. Action. Meet with Lee Sang-gu and his group. Chance that this will change everything for the better. 44%. Chance that this will change everything for the worse. 29%. Note, a decision with high uncertainty, insufficient data. 44 against 29. Junso typed, "Come today, I will send the coordinates." He put away the phone, looked at the horizon. The haze to the south had grown thicker. September is approaching. Let us see what the climatologist knows. Let us see what 42 people will bring. Let us see. The system was silent, gave no hints, gave no drop. Simply silent. Sometimes that too is an answer. He went down to work. Lee Sang-gu arrived at noon. Junso expected a scientist, glasses, folders with papers, the distracted look of a person who spends more time with data than with people. He saw a man about 50 in a worn army jacket. Broad, with hands that had clearly held more than just a pen. A tanned face with deep lines. Gray eyes with that cold attentiveness people have who are used to looking at large systems. Behind him was a dusty minibus, and 3 more cars. People began to get out. Junso counted silently. 38 people, not 42. Of different ages, different kinds. Some were clearly families, children holding the hands of adults. Several had the look people have who have survived something sharp recently. Sang-gu approached, shook his hand firmly, briefly. "Fewer than promised," he said, immediately without preamble. 4 stayed in the city, their choice. 38 is a lot, said Junso. I know. Sang-gu looked at the site. Show me what you have. He did not ask, he said it. Junso noted that. He was not offended, just remembered it. He showed him. Sang-gu walked in silence, looked at every section, touched the walls, checked the ventilation. He stopped longer at the well. 9 meters, he said. Yes, is the water clean? Tested. Output? 200 liters per hour steadily. Sang-gu nodded, went on. He stopped at the greenhouse, looked at the green sprouts in the hydroponic trays. Tai Yang stood nearby watching the system. An agronomist? Sang-gu said to Tai Yang. Yes. Heat-resistant crops? Yes, how do you know? By the look of the seedlings. Sang-gu bent down. These are not standard seeds. Where did you get them? Tai Yang looked at Junso. Found them, said Junso. Sang-gu looked at him. The system. Yes. Lucky, said Sang-gu, without envy, as a statement. I do not have a system. None of mine do. He straightened up. That is why we need you. And why do I need you? Said Junso. For this, said Sang-gu. He took out a tablet. Held it out. Graphs on the screen. Temperature curves, forecasts, dates. Junso looked. For a long time. Then raised his eyes. These are not official data, he said. No, said Sang-gu. The official ones are understated. I worked at the National Institute of Climatology until July. I saw the real figures. Pause. Then the institute was shut down. Officially reorganization. In reality, so that the real data would not get out. How much are the official figures understated? By 8 to 12 degrees, said Sang-gu. Silence. Junso looked at the graphs again. He had planned for a maximum of 48. So-yeon was building in a margin up to 55. If the official figures are understated by 12, the real maximum. 63, said Junso aloud. In Seoul, yes, said Sang-gu. Here at 800 meters, 58. Pause. In October, 58. At 58 degrees on the surface, being outside without special protection is death in 20 minutes. Junso closed the tablet, gave it back, stood for a second. So, Yon, he said. She was nearby, had heard. She was already looking at him with the expression that meant I calculated it too. The thermal insulation is insufficient, she said. We need to double the layer. Everywhere. The time... No, I know. She looked at Sang-woo. Are there builders among your people? 2, said Sang-woo. Electricians? 1. Then we start today, said So-yeon. Turned to Junso. When is your next drop? I do not know. Random. Then pray that it is a useful one. She left already with a notebook, already calculating. Sang-woo watched her go. Is she good? He asked Junso. The best I have met, said Junso. In what sense? In all of them. Sang-woo looked at him. Something in the corners of his eyes. I see, he said. 38 new people at the site is chaos. Not immediately the first 2 hours people were quiet, orienting themselves. Then they began to talk among themselves, then questions, then demands. Then one man about 40 started explaining to Gi-chan how to pour concrete properly. Gi-chan looked at him with the expression that replaced words for him. Junso came up. Are you a builder? He asked the man. No, the man said. I am a manager. I manage people. Here Gi-chan manages the builders. Pause. What can you do besides managing? I organize processes. Good. Junso looked at him evenly. Organize food for 38 people this evening. Supplies are in the 3rd section. The list is with Tai Young. Pause. That is more necessary than concrete right now. The man looked at him. Fine, he said at last. Chance analysis, he will become a problem later. 67%. Junso remembered the face. Park Hyun-soo remembered it. In the evening, the first serious conversation. They gathered inside in the main section, the only one spacious enough. 46 people. Hot, the cooling system was working, but it was not designed for that many bodies. Junso stood before them. He had not prepared a speech, just facts. The shelter is designed for 20 people long-term, he said. There are 46 of us now. This is a problem we will solve by expanding over the next 2 weeks. Pause. According to the data Lee Sang-woo brought, the maximum temperature here in October will be 58 degrees. Being outside without protection is life-threatening. Pause. That means that going outside will be strictly limited. By time, before dawn, 1 hour maximum. Only in special clothing. This is not a request. Silence. Then several voices at once. How long will this last? My children cannot sit inside. Who made you the one to decide? Junso waited until they quieted down. The last one, he said. Who made me the one to decide? He looked at the one who asked, a young man about 25, with the expression of someone used to challenging. I built this place. I designed it. There is water, food, air, and a temperature here that does not kill. Pause. Outside there is not. Pause. That is the answer to the question. Silence. Sang-woo stood by the wall. Said nothing. Chance analysis, the situation will stabilize. 54%. Someone will leave. 38%. Any practical questions? Said Junso. A woman with a child about 35, with that calmness people sometimes have when they have already accepted something bad. Medicine, she said. My son has asthma. There is an inhaler for now. When it runs out. Hey Jin, said Junso. Hey Jin stepped forward. A list of everyone with chronic illnesses to me tomorrow morning, she said. We will see what there is, what is needed. For now, there is still a possibility of going out. The woman nodded. The temperature in the conversation, not in the air and the people, dropped a little. Concrete is better than abstract. The night of August 12th, Junso did not sleep, lay in his section, small, with a metal wall cold from the cooling system. Thought about the number. 46 people, a shelter for 20. Expansion requires 2 weeks minimum, realistically 3, but there are no real weeks. The temperature is rising every day. Gi-chan's workers are working. Sang-woo brought 2 builders, good ones, but there are not enough materials. The last purchase was a week ago. Now the roads from the city are either overloaded or closed. He looked at the ceiling. Chance analysis of finishing the expansion before the critical point. Chance analysis. Action, finish the expansion by September 20. Chance 34%. Note, critical risks. Shortage of materials, physical exhaustion of the team, possible conflicts within the group. 34%, worse than he wanted. He thought about what would change the number. Materials are the key. Without materials, no team will help. A run to the city is needed. Chance analysis. Chance analysis. Action. Run to the nearest construction warehouse. Chance of returning with materials. 61% chance of returning without losses. 49%. 49% without losses. A coin toss. Junso lay there and thought. At that moment, his pocket became heavier. He did not move. Lay there and felt an item appear in the pocket of the trousers lying beside him. He already knew that sensation, warmth, light pressure, as if someone had quietly placed it there. He took the trousers, pulled it out. A small card. Plastic, white with a magnetic stripe and a code printed on the back. And the system. Drop received item. Key card. Warehouse number 7, Yongchon Rarity. Rare description. Access card to a private warehouse in Yongchon. Contents unknown. Warehouse owner not established. Warehouse active. The drop chance had been 8% addition. Use the key to the unknown. Junso sat up. Read the last line again. Use the key to the unknown. That first drop, the metal key with the tag. He had kept it in the side pocket of the backpack since March. 5 months. He stood up, took the backpack, found the key, brought it close to the card just beside it, did not know why. System chance analysis. Action use both items together at the warehouse in Yongcheon. Chance of obtaining critically important resources, 88%, 88. The highest he had seen for a single action. Junso looked at the key and card in his hands. The system puts puzzles together. I kept the key for 5 months and did not know why. Now I know. In the morning he told Sang-woo. Only him, not everyone. Sang-woo listened. Looked at the card and the key. Yongchon is 40 minutes from here, he said. I know, I am going with you. No, said Junso. Why? Because if something goes wrong, a person is needed here who knows the data, who can explain to people what is happening. Pause. You are that person. Sang-woo looked at him. And you? I am the one who has the system. That is not an argument against a bullet or heat stroke. Chance analysis showed 88%, said Junso. 12 remain. Yes, that is not a small number. No, Junso agreed. Silence. Who is going with you, said Sang-woo. Gi-chan. And Arayam, can she drive a large vehicle? Ask. Arayam could. There was one truck at the site, a small one, for delivering materials. The 3 of us go, said Junso. They left at 5 in the morning, before the heat became deadly. Outside the window, the highway was almost empty, not because everything was fine, because most people no longer drove during the day. Several cars stood at the roadside, abandoned or waiting for evening. The thermometer in the car read 38. At 5 in the morning, by noon it will be 51 here. Gi-chan rode in the passenger seat, silent as usual, looking at the road. You are not asking where we are going, said Junso. You will tell me when it is necessary. To a warehouse. Whose? Unknown. Gi-chan turned his head. We are going to someone else's warehouse. To a warehouse the system gave me information about. System, Gi-chan repeated. Accepted it with his own intonation. Riem was driving. Dad, she said without turning around. Did you know you were hiring on to build a bunker for a man who gets keys and cards out of his pocket? No, said Gi-chan. And what do you think? I think the bunker is good, said Gi-chan. The rest is none of my business. Riem laughed briefly, quietly. Junso looked at the road. Laughter. He had already forgotten what that was like. They found the warehouse by the coordinates from the card. The system added them when he examined the item. An industrial zone on the outskirts of Yongchon. Empty, the companies had long evacuated their personnel. Several large buildings, fencing, cameras that clearly did not work. Warehouse number 7, the 3rd building from the left. Ordinary gates with an electronic lock. The lock did not work without power, but next to the gate was a mechanical backup. Old metal. Junso took out the metal key, inserted it, turned it. The gate opened. Gi-chan watched this, said nothing. Inside it was dark. Riem turned on the flashlight. Junso stood at the entrance and looked. Then the card, an internal reader, it worked. Backup power, it beeped. The light came on. The warehouse was full. Not chaotically full, organized, shelves along the walls to the ceiling, racks in the center. Everything in packaging, labeled, systematized. He read the labels. Thermal insulation panels, exactly the ones they needed. Several pallets, rebar, cement in bags, generators, 2 of them, industrial. Canned food, a lot. Tai Young would appreciate it. Medicines, a whole rack. Hei Jin and A Rayam would spend an hour with that rack. And in the far corner, crates with a marking Junso recognized immediately. Heat protection suits, industrial ones for working in extreme temperatures. 24 pieces. At 58 outside, this is the difference between an hour of work on the surface and death. Gi-chan stood beside him, looked. "Who left this?" he said quietly. "I do not know," said Junso. "For whom?" "I do not know. Do you think for you?" Junso thought. "The system works like this," he said slowly. "It does not create items, it finds them. What already exists. What is waiting for the right moment." Pause. Someone left this. Maybe long ago. Maybe knowing what would happen. Pause. I do not know who. But I am here. Gi-chan looked at the shelves. "Load everything?" he said. "Everything that fits," said Junso. "The truck is small. We will make 2 trips. In this heat?" 2 trips, Junso repeated. "We will make it before noon if we are quick." Gi-chan nodded, went to the racks. Ariam was already standing by the medicines, reading the labels, quickly, professionally. "There are inhalers here," she said. "Several kinds." She turned to Junso. "That woman, the son with asthma." "Take everything," said Junso. She took them. 2 trips. They returned at the beginning of noon. The thermometer already showed 47. They drove under the canopy at the shelter entrance quickly. People came out to help unload. Sanggu stood at the entrance, watched the heat protection suits being unloaded. On his face, something rare. 24 suits, he said. "Yes. This is critical." "I know. How did you find it?" "System." Sanggu looked at him. "Do you understand what that means?" He said quietly. "Not just luck. What you are describing, someone or something prepared this before you." "I thought about that." "And what do you think?" "I think it does not matter who," said Junso. "What matters is what to do with what was given." Sanggu looked for a long time. "You are a very cold person," he said. "People tell me that. That is not a compliment." "I know." August 18th. The expansion is moving, slower than he wanted, faster than he feared. The materials from the warehouse solved the main problem. The 34% the system had given earlier, if recalculated now, would be higher. But Park Hyun-soo, the manager, the one Junso remembered on the first day. He worked quietly, which turned out to be worse than if he had made noise. Quietly talked to people. Quietly gathered the dissatisfied, and there were dissatisfied people. That was normal. 46 people in a limited space with heat outside. Quietly shaped opinion. Junso saw it peripherally, did not observe specifically, just noticed. He sometimes focused chance analysis on Hyun-soo, not often. The results were consistently alarming. On the 18th, So-yeon came to him in the evening. She only sat beside him when it was important. The rest of the time she worked, did not get distracted. "Hyun-soo," she said. "Yes, he spoke to 7 people today, separately." She looked straight. "I heard part of it. He says that you unilaterally control the resources, that there should be voting on key decisions, that supplies should be common without your sole access." "He is right in principle," said Junso. So-yeon looked at him. "What?" "Democratic principles of resource distribution are correct in stable conditions," he said. "We are not in stable conditions." Pause. "But he is right that people should feel involved. Otherwise tension accumulates. So what do we do?" "Chance analysis of giving people the appearance of control." Chance analysis. Action. Create a council of representatives without real veto power, with a voice chance of reducing tension. 71% action. Speak to Hyun-soo personally. Chance 44%. Action. Ignore chance of worsening the situation. 83%. "A meeting tomorrow morning," said Junso. "I will announce the creation of a council. 5 representatives from the groups. They participate in distribution. They have a voice. Hyun-soo will be on the council." "Of course," said Junso. That is better than him being outside the council. So-yeon looked at him. You keep your enemy close, she said. He is not an enemy, Jun-so thought. He is a man who wants control because outside everything has gone out of control. Pause. That is understandable. So-yeon was silent for a second. Sometimes you surprise me, she said. In a good way? Have not decided yet. She stood up, went to the exit, stopped. Jun-so, Mr. Jun-so. Yes. Are you ever afraid? He thought. Regularly, he said. It does not show. I see numbers, he said. Chances. When you see the chance, it is easier than when you do not. Pause. But numbers do not remove fear. They just give you something to do with it. So-yeon looked at him for a long time. Good night, she said. Good night. The council was created. 5 people. Hyun-soo joined it as Jun-so expected. He wanted that. He got a place. In the first 2 meetings, he talked a lot, suggested a lot, watched Jun-so's reaction. Jun-so listened, accepted what was reasonable, rejected things not with just no, but with an explanation why. Chance analysis. Hyun-soo is calming down. 58%. At the 3rd meeting, Hyun-soo proposed something unexpected. We have no connection to the outside world, he said. Mobile networks are failing. But there is radio. He looked at Jun-so. Among us there is a radio amateur, Choi Yoon-gwan. Shortwave. We can listen to what is happening beyond. Chance analysis of agreeing. Chance analysis. Action. Allow creation of a radio post. Chance of useful information. 74% chance of alarming information that destabilizes the group. 61%, 74 against 61. Good, said Jun-so. A radio post, yes. But information is filtered through the council before any general announcement. No live broadcasting. Why filtering? Hyun-soo asked. Because panic in a closed space kills faster than heat, said Jun-so. Hyun-soo looked, accepted it. Sometimes the right argument works better than any pressure. Choi Eun-gwan assembled the radio from spare parts. He had brought a box of components with him. A small, neat man of about 60, spoke little, soldered a lot. 2 days later, the first signal. A radio station from somewhere in the north. A woman's voice, clear, calm, reading a bulletin. Temperatures in the regions. The state of the roads. Places where one could go. Sang-woo listened with the expression of a scientist receiving data. Murmansk 32, he said. The north of Russia 35. Scandinavia 37 to 40. It is possible to live there, said Jun-so. It is. Sang-woo looked at him. But it is impossible to get there from here. Not now. The roads are closed or dangerous. Aviation is grounded. The sea is closed by heat storms. Pause. We are here. This is our reality. Jun-so nodded. The next day, another signal. An alarming one. Yoon-gwan came to him separately. Not through the council personally. There is a transmission I do not want to voice at the council, he said quietly. Speak. A large group, several hundred people, is moving from Seoul to the north, looking for shelters. Pause. Someone on the radio mentioned that in the mountains of North Chungcheong, there is a functioning shelter. Jun-so looked at him. Did they mention coordinates? No, only the region. Chance analysis of the group finding the shelter. Chance analysis. Situation. A large group is looking for shelter in the region. Chance that they will find the site, 47%. If they find it, chance of peaceful contact. 38% if they find it, chance of conflict. 62%, 47% that they find it. And if they do, 62% conflict. Jun-so stood there, thought. No one for now, he said to Eun-gwan. Good, how much time do we have in your estimate? If they are moving from Seoul now, 3 or 4 days. Maybe less if they have cars. 3 days. The expansion is not finished. Heat protection suits, 24 for 46 people. Water supplies for 2 months for the current number. If more come, Jun-so thought. Chance analysis of accepting part of the large group. Chance analysis. Action. Accept an additional 20 people. Chance that the group's overall survival will increase. 31% chance that internal conflict will increase. 55% action. Accept no one. Chance of survival of the current group? 67% chance of preserving supplies. 78%. Action, accept people with useful skills. Selection, chance of an optimal result. 71% selection. 71%. Junso looked at the numbers. Choosing who gets to live was what he had been doing from the very beginning. He chose So-yeon, Tae-yong, Hai-jin, A-ryum. Only then it had been softer, people came one by one, with names. Now a group, and selection. He closed his eyes for a second. I am not God, but I have a system that tells me what is right, and I have responsibility for the 46 people already here. Opened them. Ungwan, he said. Yes, keep listening to the air. If you hear they are close, come to me immediately. Good, and no one for now. I will say it myself when the time comes. Ungwan nodded. Left. Junso stood alone in the small technical corridor. Outside, 49 degrees at 3 in the afternoon. Inside, 46 people. His responsibility. In 3 or 4 days, perhaps several hundred at the gate. The system was silent, gave nothing more. Only what it had given. 71% selection. He did not yet know what it would look like in practice. Did not know what he would say to the people at the gate. Did not know how he would explain it to those who would remain outside. But I know one thing, the 46 inside are alive, and will stay alive. That is the main thing. He went to So-yeon. He needed to talk before it all began, before it became truly hard. He found So-yeon in the technical section. She was lying under a ventilation duct, not because it was broken, simply checking the seals, alone, without assistance, with a flashlight clenched in her teeth and a wrench in her hand. She heard footsteps and did not turn around. If you came to help, hand me the second wrench, she said. The flashlight in her mouth gave her voice a strange sound. Not to help. She crawled out, removed the flashlight, looked at his face, read it. What happened? Not a question, a statement. He had noticed long ago she asked questions like statements when she already knew the answer, and was simply giving the other person room to confirm. A large group from Seoul, moving into this region. Pause 3 or 4 days. So-yeon sat on the floor, looked at the wrench in her hand. How many of them? Several hundred, according to the radio interception. Silence. She did not ask the obvious, what to do, have you decided, how? Sat and thought. He valued that in her. She did not fill silence with words when words were unnecessary. What does the system say? She said at last. Selection. 71% optimal result. Selection by what criteria? I have not decided fully yet. Useful skills? Yes. Children. Not a selection criterion, said Junso. If there is a child, we take them. So-yeon looked at him. You already decided that. Yes, before you came to me. Yes, then why did you come? The question was direct. He thought for a second. Because there are things the system does not analyze, said he. How to explain to the people outside that we cannot take everyone? How to explain to our people that we are taking more? How to keep the selection from turning into what I do not want it to become? What do you not want it to become? Power over life, said Junso. I do not want to be the one who decides who lives. So-yeon looked at him for a long time. But you already are that person, she said quietly. From the first day, you chose me. Tae-yong, Hai-jin, you accepted Sangu with his people and did not accept everyone? 4 stayed in the city. Pause. You are already that person. It was just that earlier the numbers were smaller and it was not visible. Silence. I know, he said. Then what is the question? How not to break from it? So-yeon looked at the wrench in her hand, then put it on the floor. I do not know how, she said. I am not a psychologist. Pause. But I know one thing. You came here to talk before it all started. That means you do not want to do this alone. She raised her eyes. That is already the answer. Junso looked at her. What does that answer mean? It means you will not break, she said simply. Those who break do not come to talk before. They just do it. And then they break. Silence. Somewhere in the ventilation, the hum of the system. Monotonous, calm. The shelter was breathing. Good, said Junso. What is good? You are right. So-yeon raised her eyebrows slightly, not surprised, something else. You rarely say that someone is right, she said. I rarely meet them. She looked at him for another second, then picked up the wrench from the floor, lay back under the duct. Hand me the second wrench, she said. Flashlight between her teeth again. He handed it over. They arrived a day earlier. Not several hundred, 318 people. Yun Guan caught the signal an hour before they appeared. Junso managed to prepare partially. He gathered the council quickly, told them everything. Hyunsu listened with the expression of a man who wanted to say something and was waiting for a pause. We cannot not accept them, Hyunsu said. These are people. There may be families with children there. There are children there, said Junso. We take all of them. Pause. The question is the rest. You will be choosing who gets to live. I will be choosing who gets to enter a shelter that is designed for a certain number of people, said Junso. If we take everyone, the resources will not be enough. Everyone will die. If we take part, those inside will survive. Pause. This is not my moral position. It is mathematics. Mathematics is a convenient thing when you want to justify a decision, said Hyunsu. Silence. Junso looked at him. Chance analysis of arguing, chance analysis. Action. Enter into an argument with Hyunsu. Chance of convincing him, 23%. Action. Let him speak and not answer. Chance that the other council members will support. Junso, 67%. He stayed silent. Hyunsu went on speaking about moral duty, about humanity, about how one cannot build a new world on selection. The other council members listened. Sang-woo by the wall. Silent. Looking at Hyunsu with that cold attentiveness of a scientist observing a process. Tae-young was looking at the table, thinking. Hai-jin when Hyunsu finished. How much water do we have for additional people, she said. Not to Hyunsu, to Junso. With the current number, 2 months. If we add 100 people, 3 weeks. At 58 degrees outside, a person without water dies within a day, said Hai-jin. 3 weeks is death for everyone. She looked at Hyunsu. That is mathematics too. Hyunsu fell silent. Tae-yang raised his head. I support selection, he said, on the condition that the criteria are transparent. Not Junso's secret decision, declared criteria. Have everyone sees by what rules. Junso looked at him. Chance analysis of accepting Tae-yang's condition. Chance analysis action. Agree to transparent criteria. Chance that this is right. 89%. Agreed, said Junso. Tae-yang nodded. Hyunsu looked on, did not agree aloud, but fell silent. That too was something. They wrote the criteria together. The whole council in 40 minutes. People arrived while they were writing. There was no time. A list on a sheet of paper. They attached it outside at the gate. Priority for entry, children under 16, all medics, agronomists, engineers, mechanics, 1 per specialty until filled people with chronic illnesses requiring medical care. By Hai-jin's assessment, everyone else. If space remains capacity, 40 more people. Junso went outside first. Outside it was 49 degrees at 10 in the morning. He was in a heat protection suit, 20 minutes maximum. The crowd stood about 20 meters from the gate. 318 people, he now saw them as people, not as a number. Different faces. Tired, sunburned, in that state when fear is already turning into something dull and quiet. He looked at them. Chance analysis. Chance analysis. Situation. Speak to the crowd. Action. Explain the situation honestly and fully. Chance they will accept without violence. 52% action. Explain partially, soften it. Chance 41%. Action. Speak briefly and only facts. Chance 64% briefly. Only facts. 64. He took a step forward, spoke loudly, evenly. My name is Lee Junso. I built this shelter. We have room for 40 additional people. The criteria are on the sheet at the gate. They were written by a council of 7 people, not by me alone. Pause. All children enter. Medics and technical specialists have priority. Places are limited. This is not cruelty, it is resources. The water is calculated for an exact number of people. Pause. You have 10 minutes to read the list and organize yourselves. Silence, then voices, many. He stood and waited. Did not leave. A man stepped forward from the crowd. Large, with the look people have who are used to being listened to. Who are you to decide? He said. 20 minutes in the sun. 7 have already passed. The one who built it, said Junso. There is no other answer. We can force our way in. Chance analysis probability of an assault. Chance analysis. Situation, threat of assault. Chance of a real assault. 29% reason for low chance. Temperature. Active actions at 49 degrees Celsius cause heat stroke in 10 to 15 minutes. You can, said Junso evenly. It is 49 outside. I have a suit. You do not. Active actions at this temperature cause heat stroke in 10 minutes. He looked at the man. You are an intelligent man. You brought people from Seoul here that required decisions. Think. The man looked at him. There was no gaze, only the system. But the system was enough. The man stepped back. The crowd began moving toward the sheet with the criteria. 40 minutes of sorting. Junso returned inside, cooled down for 5 minutes, went out again. Hae-jin stood at the gate. Admitting medics, 3 from the crowd. A-Reum was helping. Children, 21 children. They were let in first. Mothers with small children too, no one started counting them separately from the children. That was not in the criteria. Junso decided it on the spot. Chance analysis of admitting mothers with small children above the limit. Chance analysis. Action. Admit 8 additional mothers with children under 5. Chance that the resources will hold. 61%. Note, borderline decision. 61. He nodded to Ariam. She understood without words. In total, 61 additional people entered, more than he had planned. At the gate, 257 remained. 257 people with nowhere to go. Junso stood by the closed gate from the inside. Voices outside. Not shouting, not an assault, just voices. People were talking among themselves. Some were crying. Someone was leaving for somewhere. He did not know where. He stood and listened. Songgu came up and stood beside him, in silence. They stood together for several minutes. You made the right decision, said Songgu. I do not know. Mathematically, yes. Mathematics is not everything, said Junso. You said so yourself? I did, Songgu agreed. But sometimes mathematics is the only thing there is. The voices outside were fading. People were going somewhere. North, probably. Or just somewhere. There was a station on the air from the north, said Songgu. It was transmitting coordinates of places where people are being accepted. Pause. Yunguan wrote the coordinates on the same sheet where the criteria were. At the bottom. Junso looked at him. You added that before I went out to speak. Yes, did not tell me. You would not have objected, said Sanggu, but you had many thoughts. I decided to just do it. Silence. Thank you, said Junso. Do not thank me. Sanggu turned to leave. Yunguan caught something else on the air. Come listen when you can. What exactly? Listen for yourself. Yunguan sat by his radio, a small table in the technical corridor, headphones around his neck, several antenna wires running somewhere into the ventilation system and farther upward. He raised his head when Junso came in. Sit, he said. One of the few who addressed Junso as you without formality, age gave the right. Junso sat. Yunguan held out the headphones. The voice in the headphones was male with interference but intelligible, confirming the coordinates. Station Pole 7, latitude 67.4, longitude 33.1. Murmansk region. Surface temperature plus 31. Underground level plus 18. We are accepting people with technical specialties. I repeat, we are accepting people with technical specialties. Transport is provided if the group is larger than 50 people and has a coordinator with a navigation system. Contact frequency 14.225, daily at 2100 Moscow time. Interference. The signal was gone. Junso took off the headphones, looked at Yunguan. Station Pole 7, he said. I have been listening to it for the 3rd day, said Yunguan. Every evening at the same time? The signal does not change, does not break. Pause. This is not a random transmission. It is an organized structure. Murmansk region, said Junso. Thinking aloud. 18 degrees underground. You can live there normally, said Yunguan. You can live here too. For now, said Yunguan. Junso looked at him. What does for now mean? It means Sanggu told you about October. 58 here. Yunguan looked straight. And November? Sanggu has no data for November. The model did not calculate beyond October. I do, said Yunguan. Junso looked at him. The old man took a notebook from under the table. An ordinary school notebook, squared. Opened it in the middle. I am not a climatologist, he said, but I have been a radio amateur for 40 years. I listened to weather stations around the world all my life. He pointed to columns of numbers written neatly. These are temperature data from 27 stations, from March until now. I calculated the trend, and with such a trend, Yunguan put his finger on the last line. In December, it will be 72 degrees here. Silence. 72, said Junso. Plus or minus 3 degrees. I am not a precise instrument. At 72, the thermal insulation we are building. Insufficient, said Yunguan. The shelter is designed for 58 maximum. At 72, the rock will begin conducting heat inward, slowly. Pause. By February, it will be plus 45 inside. People will die. Slowly, said Eunguan. Not at once, but they will die. Silence. Junso sat. Everything he had built. 5 months. Hundreds of decisions. All these people. December, 4 months. He showed nothing on his face. Accustomed. Did you tell Sangu? He asked. You first. Why? Because you decide, said Yunguan simply. Let the one who makes decisions decide. Junso looked at Yunguan's notebook. Station Pole 7, he said. Yes. 50 people with a coordinator, they provide transport. Yes, we have 107 people now. Yes, divides into 2 groups. Mathematically, said Yunguan. Chance analysis of contacting the station. Chance analysis. Action, contact, Pole 7. Chance the station is real and operating. 81% chance. They will accept the group. 63% chance the transport is real. 44%, 81 that it is real. 63 that they will accept. 44 that the transport is real. Not ideal, but it is the only thing. When is the next session? He asked. This evening, in 6 hours. I will be here. Good. Junso stood up, took Yunguan's notebook. May I? Take it. He went to the exit. Junso, Mr. Junso, said Yunguan. He turned around. The old man looked at him with the calm of people who have lived long enough not to fear big news. I have heard many stations in 40 years, said Yunguan. Pole 7 transmits evenly, without panic, without chaos. Someone there knows how to keep his head. Pause, like you. Junso looked at him. Is that supposed to be reassuring? No, said Yunguan. Just information. Over the next 3 hours, Junso walked through the shelter. Was not checking, just walking. Looking at people. Here, Haijin and Arium in the medical section. They were receiving the newcomers, recording complaints, handing out what they could. There were 21 children. They sat in one corner. Someone from the adults was reading aloud to them. What exactly he did not hear. Here was Tai Yang in the greenhouse. Beside him, a new person from those who had arrived, a young woman. She also understood something about plants. They were talking about something. Tai Yang nodded. Here was Gichan with the workers in the expanding corridor, working methodically. Gichan was looking at the wall with the expression with which people look at work that has meaning. Here was an unfamiliar man from the newcomers, sitting by the wall alone, looking into space. A notebook in his hands, not writing, just holding it. Junso stopped. What is in the notebook? He asked. The man raised his eyes in surprise, did not expect to be addressed. Poems, he said. Then, as if justifying himself, I used to be a literature teacher. Used to be or still am. I do not know anymore. Junso looked at him. Chance analysis usefulness of a literature teacher. He did not turn on the system. The children need someone who will be with them, he said. Not a medic, just nearby. To talk, to read, to explain clearly what is happening. Pause. Can you explain? The man looked at him. That is my job, he said quietly. Then go to the children. Yes? He stood up. Thank you. Not to me. To the children. The man went in the direction where the children sat. Junso watched him go. The system cannot show the chance of everything. Only of what you ask. Some things are not in numbers. In the evening he found So Yan, told her everything. Aun Guan's notebook, the numbers, December, the station. She listened in silence. To the end. Then sat for a minute. 72, she said. Yes, I calculated for 58 maximum. Pause. If we add another layer of insulation, we can raise it to 64, maybe 66. But 72? No. Not without fundamentally different materials. There are no materials. No, she agreed. Then December is the ceiling. Yes. She looked straight at him. Pole 7, yes. You have already decided. Not fully yet, he said. But the vector, yes. You will tell the people. Soon. Pause. First I will find out what kind of station it is. Today at 21. I will come, she said. That is not a question, he noted. No, she agreed. Without a smile, but something in the way she said it. 2100. They sat in the technical corridor, 4 of them, Junso, Soyeon, Sang-woo, Yoon-gwan. They had not invited the others. First listen, then decide. Yoon-gwan at the radio. Tuned the frequency. Interference. Then the voice. The same one as during the day. Steady, male, unhurried. Station pole 7. 21st of August. Surface temperature 31 degrees, falling by morning to 28. Underground levels a steady 18. We are accepting requests. The frequency is open. Waiting. Silence. Yoon-gwan nodded to Junso. Junso took the microphone. Coordinator of a group from Korea speaking. 107 people. Shelter in the mountains of North Chungcheong, Republic of Korea. Do you hear us? Pause. Interference. Then the voice. Live, not a recording. We hear you. Korea is far. How did you get onto our frequency? A radio amateur in the group. He has been catching the signal for 3 days. Understood. How many children do you have? Junso looked at Sang-woo, who silently mouthed, 21. 21 children. Pause longer than usual. That is an important number. Children are a priority for us. The voice changed slightly, not warmer, but something. Tell us about your group. Composition, skills, current condition. Junso spoke. Clearly, briefly, engineers, agronomist, medics, virologist, climatologist. Resources, condition of the shelter, time horizon until December. The voice listened. Virologist, interesting. Climatologist, very interesting. We have data on the temperature trend, but verification from another source is needed. Pause. Did your climatologist work in a state structure? Sang-woo nodded. Yes, Korea's National Institute of Climatology. A long pause. Good. My name is Gromov, Mikhail Gromov. I am the coordinator of the station. There are 340 of us here. An underground complex, a former mining shaft, repurposed. There is room with selection. The voice was steady without apologies. About selection, honestly, we need people who know how to do something specific. Based on the description, we will take your group. Pause. Transport? We have contact with the crew of the icebreaker Arctica 3, which is now in the Sea of Japan. At a surface water temperature below 40, they sail. Right now it is 38. They are still sailing. So-yeon took a sheet of paper. Wrote. Ask about the route. The route from us to the icebreaker? Vladivostok, Russian side. The port is operating partially. The distance from your point to Vladivostok is about 1,000 kilometers overland. Right now, that is a problem. Roads, partially passable. Better at night. The temperature at night there is up to 37, tolerable with protection. Pause, there is another option. South Korean military left equipment at several points. We know of one northeast of you. I will give the coordinates. There should be vehicles there with air-conditioned cabins. Military class designed for extreme temperatures. Junso looked at Sang-woo. Sang-woo nodded. This is real. I heard about the evacuation of military equipment. When do we need to leave? By your data, December is critical. Then departure no later than November. Better in October while the temperature has not gone farther yet. We have 8 weeks. Yes. Pause. Gromov. Listening. Why are you doing this? Accepting people, giving coordinates, organizing transport. What do you get? A long pause. Then the voice. Slightly different. Not colder and not warmer, more honest. We are building something here, not just survival, something that we'll be after. And for that we need people who know how to think, build, treat, grow. Pause. You are like that. By the description. Another pause. And one more thing. I have a daughter. She is 9 years old. She is here with me. I want her to grow up in a world where people help each other reach the north. Not because it is profitable, because otherwise, what is the point of all this? Silence in the technical corridor. Eunguan was looking at the table. So-yeon at her hands. Sang-woo at the wall. Something on his face, not sentimentality. Something more practical and deeper. Junso looked at the microphone. Chance analysis of trusting Gromov. Chance analysis. Situation, Mikhail Gromov. Station Pole 7. Action, accept his offer. Chance that he is telling the truth. 87% chance that the plan is real. 58% chance that the group will get there alive. 51%, 51%. A coin toss. But a coin toss against December, which will definitely kill. Chance analysis of staying in the shelter until December. Chance analysis. Action, stay chance of survival of the group. 11% 11 against 51. There was no choice. Gromov, we accept your offer. We need the coordinates of the military equipment and the route plan. Next session tomorrow at the same time. Good. Tomorrow. Pause. Legion So. Yes, 8 weeks is enough. Do not rush, but do not be slow. Understood. The signal went away. Interference? Silence. Eunguan took off the headphones, set them aside carefully. 51%, said Sang-woo. He heard when Junso looked at the system, did not see the numbers but read them from his face. Yes, against the 11 that remain. Yes, then 51, said Sang-woo. That is science. You take the best of the available probabilities. That is not science, said Junso. Then what? I do not know yet, said Junso, but it is forward. So-yeon stood first. I need to calculate what equipment we take with us, she said. What we leave. Pause. And there needs to be a conversation with the people. Tomorrow? Tomorrow morning, said Junso. Good. She left. Eunguan after her quietly. Sang-woo last. Stopped at the door. Junso, he said. Yes. Gromov told the truth, said Sang-woo. About the daughter. I have heard how people speak who have children and who are afraid for them. He was silent for a moment. It was not a rhetorical device, I know. Then 51% will become more. Why? Because a man who has a reason works more reliably than mathematics. He left. Junso remained alone. Warmth in his pocket. Light pressure. Familiar. He took it out. A small object. An old metal compass. The needle pointing north. Drop received item. Compass always to the north. Rarity, uncommon description. It points north. Always. Even when you do not know exactly what you are looking for, it knows the direction. The drop chance had been 12% Junso looked at the compass. The needle straight north. Always north. Murmansk is north. Gromov is north. 8 weeks. He closed his hand around the compass. The metal cold. Heavy. Real. Outside the shelter it was 49 degrees and night. Ahead lay 1,000 kilometers, an icebreaker, the Sea of Japan, and 51%. Morning of August 22nd. Junso announced it to everyone at 8 in the morning, without preparation, without beautiful words. Gathered the people in the main section, stood in front of them. Said 3 things. In December, the shelter will stop holding the temperature. 72 degrees outside, the materials are not designed for it. There is a place to go, a station in Murmansk. An underground complex, one can live there normally. Departure in October. 8 weeks to prepare. The silence afterward was different than usual. Not explosive, not panicked. Dense, as if 107 people were simultaneously digesting the same thing. And for each of them, it took exactly that long. The first to speak was not Hyun-soo, but a young woman from the newcomers, the one who was helping Tae Yang in the greenhouse. 1,000 kilometers to Vladivostok, she said. With children. Yes, said Junso. At night, mostly. At 40 degrees at night, at 37 by the latest data. With protection it is bearable. This is not a walk. No, said Junso. This is not a walk. She looked at him. Is there another option? Stay and die in February, said Junso. Slowly. Silence. Hyun-soo was silent this time. Junso noticed he was sitting with the expression of a man who wanted to object and could not find with what. Good. Sang-woo stood up. I want to add something, he said. Not to Junso, to the people. I am a climatologist. I saw the real data the government was hiding. I checked Eunkwon's figures at night by my own method. They are accurate within a 2% margin. Pause. December is not a scare story, it is physics. One of the children, a boy of about 10, raised his hand. Seriously, like in a classroom. And is it cold there? He asked. In Murmansk? Several people relaxed a little, did not laugh, but something. The tension in the air became a degree quieter. It is 18 underground there, said Junso, and 31 outside. That is cold by current standards. Good, said the boy. And sat down. The next 3 days, preparations. Not chaotic. Junso divided the people into groups by tasks and gave each group a list. So-yeon, what equipment we take. Tae-young, what seeds and nutrient concentrates we take. Hae-jin, medicines, priorities. Gi-chan, evaluation of transport. Junso himself, route maps. He received the coordinates of the military equipment from Gromov at the next session, a point 120 kilometers northeast of the shelter. An army depot mothballed during the evacuation. Chance analysis of the equipment being there. Chance analysis. Action, go on reconnaissance to the army depot. Chance that the equipment is there and works. 61%. Note, the chance decreases with each day of delay. Junso took Sang-woo and Gi-chan. They left at night at 1. The thermometer in the car, 36 outside. With heat protection suits, it was tolerable if they did not get out. The road was empty, not everywhere. On one stretch, abandoned cars across the highway, several of them. They had to go around on the shoulder. By one car, there were people. 2, hiding in the shade under the body. Junso slowed down. Chance analysis of stopping. Chance analysis. Action. Stop and offer help. Chance that these are ordinary people in trouble. 79%. Chance that this is a trap. 21%. Gi-chan looked at him. We are stopping, said Junso. He got out in the suit, walked over. Under the car were 2 people, a man and a woman, about 40, with the look people have who have spent several days in the open air. The car broke down, said the man. 2 days ago. Where were you heading? North. Get in, said Junso. We, get in. They got in. In the car, it was quiet. The woman, Junso, saw how she was holding herself together. She was not crying, not speaking unnecessarily. She drank the water Sang-woo gave her. Where are you taking us? The man asked. First to the depot, then back to us. You are in a shelter? We were. We are leaving in 8 weeks. Where to? Murmansk. The man was silent for a moment. We are with you, he said. Not a question. Chance analysis of taking the 2. Chance analysis. Action, accept 2 people into the group. Chance of usefulness, 54% chance of problems, 31%. What can you do, said Junso. I am a mechanic, said the man. She is a chemistry teacher. Junso looked at him. A mechanic. Before a 1,000-kilometer route on unfamiliar vehicles. Sometimes the system works like this. Not a drop from a pocket, but a drop from the darkness by the road. Let us go, said Junso. They found the army depot by the coordinates. Gromov had not been wrong. The gate was closed with a coded lock. But the mechanic, his name was Om Jae-hoon, looked at the lock for 5 seconds. Military standard, he said. There's always a backup entrance. He went along the fence, found it in 3 minutes. A technical crawl space, small, under the fence. Inside were 4 vehicles, army trucks heavy with air-conditioned cabins. One was clearly faulty, tilted. The other 3, Jae-hoon went around each one, looked under the hood, checked them. 2 are definitely operational, he said. The 3rd needs looking at. Look at it, said Junso. Jae-hoon examined it. Chance analysis of all 3 being operational. Chance analysis. Action, repair the 3rd truck with Jae-hoon's skills. Chance of success, 73%. Time, 4 to 6 hours. How much time do you need? Asked Junso. About 5 hours if there are spare parts. Is the depot full? Gi-chan was already walking around the grounds with his flashlight. There are spare parts, he said. A whole rack. Then we work, said Junso. until dawn. At dawn, they left with 3 trucks. Sang-woo drove one, Gi-chan the second, Jae-hun the third, the one he had repaired. Jun-so sat beside Jae-hun watching how he drove. Confidently, technically. A mechanic. Good. Outside the window, the sky was brightening in the east. Orange, almost red, not beauty, a warning. With a sky like that, the temperature by noon would be 50. Have you been building the shelter for a long time? Jae-hun asked. Since March? You knew this would happen. Yes, how? Jun-so thought for a second. I felt it, he said. Jae-hun nodded. Accepted it the way people accept things that do not require explanation, when the world is already full of the inexplicable. My wife, said Jae-hun. Lena is a chemistry teacher. Pause. She thinks I saved her when I stopped by the car. You did not stop. I stopped. I did not let her go farther on foot. Pause. We argued for 3 hours. I said, wait. She said we had to go while it was still before dawn. He looked at the road. She was right about the direction. I was right about waiting. Both right in our own way. Yes? Jae-hun was silent for a while. It is good when 2 people are each right in their own way. Jun-so looked at the road. So-yeon was right about silence. He about the numbers. Both right in their own way. They returned by noon. 3 trucks at the entrance to the shelter. People came out to look. Some with that expression when an abstract plan becomes concrete. 3 vehicles means it is real. It means we are going. Jun-so was unloading when Hae-jin came up. I need to talk, she said. Speak, not hear. He looked at her. There is no gaze, there is only what the eye sees. And the eye saw. She was not nervous, not afraid. But she was holding something. They stepped aside into the technical corridor. Park Hyun-soo, she said. What? This morning he was talking with 4 of the newcomers. I heard by accident the medical section is nearby. Hae-jin looked straight at him. He said that the route to Vladivostok is suicide. That Jun-so is leading people to their deaths for the sake of his own plan. That we should stay here and strengthen the insulation. Technically, it is impossible to strengthen it to the needed level, So-yeon confirmed that. He was not talking about the technical side. Hae-jin paused. He was saying that Jun-so has a system that tells him what to do. And that the system can be wrong. And that blindly following it is dangerous. Silence. He is not entirely wrong. The system can be wrong. 51% means there is a 49% chance that it is not. What exactly is he proposing? Asked Jun-so. A vote, before departure. On the route and on the decision to go. Chance analysis of holding a vote. Chance analysis. Action. Hold an open vote on the route. Chance that the majority will vote to leave. 61% chance that this will reduce tension regardless of the result. 78%. Risk. If the result is close, a split in the group, he thought. 78% reduction in tension is important. A 1,000-kilometer route with a group where half do not trust the coordinator is worse than any vote. Good, said Jun-so. You will hold a vote? Yes? Hae-jin looked at him. Are you not afraid of losing? I am afraid, said Jun-so. But the democracy of the shelter is more important than my being right. Hae-jin was silent for a moment. Jun-so, Mr. Jun-so, she said. Yes, you are a good person, I do not know. I know, she said simply. A bad person is not afraid of losing a vote. He does not hold it. She left? Jun-so stood there, the compass in his pocket. Sometimes he took it out just to hold it. The metal warm now from the body. The needle pointing north. Always. They held the vote that same evening. Jun-so explained the rules. 2 options. Secret ballot, slips of paper. Stay and strengthen the insulation as much as possible, risk of February. Leave, route through Vladivostok, icebreaker, Murmansk. 51% chance of getting there. Before the vote, Hyun-soo spoke. 3 minutes, Jun-so gave him the floor. Hyun-soo spoke well, structured, with emotion that was genuine. About the risk of the road, about the children, about how the known is less frightening than the unknown. Then Sang-woo. He came forward himself without being asked. I am a climatologist, he said. Words are not my genre. So briefly, he raised Eunguan's notebook. These are data from 27 world weather stations. Temperature trend from March. He placed it on the table. Whoever wants, look after the vote. I calculated twice. Yunguan calculated independently. The result is 1:45 inside the shelter in February. Pause, that is all. He sat down. They voted in silence. A. Ryum collected the slips. They counted in front of everyone So Yeon and the literature teacher Kim Seong-gyu together. Both aloud. We leave 74, we stay 33. Hyun-soo sat there, looking at his own hands. Junso did not look at him, he looked at the 33 people who voted to stay. Their faces. Fear, exhaustion, something deeper, that by which people vote for the familiar even when the familiar is worse. 33 people voted to stay, said Junso. That is their right. Pause. For those who stay, we will leave the maximum of insulation materials, supplies of water, and food for 3 months. And a radio to hear Gromov. Silence. I am not leaving, said Hyun-soo. Suddenly, unexpectedly, even for himself, it was audible in the intonation. Everyone looked at him. I voted to stay, said Hyun-soo. But, he stopped. But I do not want the children to stay here. The children go with their parents, said Junso. If the parents stay, the children stay too. Yes? Hyun-soo looked. Then I am leaving, he said. Quietly. My children. I do not have children. But these children, they should not stay because of someone's decision to stay. Pause. Hyun-soo. Mr. Junso, said Junso. What? You can lead people in the column. Organize them. You know how I saw it. Pause. I need such a person on the road. Hyun-soo looked at him for a long time. You are manipulating me, he said. Yes, said Junso, but manipulation by truth is not a lie. Silence. Good, said Hyun-soo. 1st of October. Departure in 6 days. The shelter had changed in those weeks, had become thinner, like an organism shedding the unnecessary before a long road. Things packed, shelves half empty. The greenhouse, Taeyang had cut everything that could be taken, packed it into thermal containers. 31 people stayed. Their choice, Junso accepted, left them everything he had promised. Yunguan taught them to work with the radio. Yunguan himself was going with the group. You voted to stay, Junso said to him once. Yes, said Yunguan, but then I thought for 3 days, and I decided that dying in February in warmth is worse than dying in October on the road. We are not going to die in October. 73% that we are not, said Yunguan. You checked, did you not? Junso looked at him. The chance has risen, he said. I know. Yunguan smiled, rarely dryly but real. That is why I am going. The night before departure, the 5th of October, night. The shelter was almost asleep. Tomorrow the last day of preparation, in the morning of the 6th departure. Junso was not asleep. Not from anxiety, from that state when the brain works quietly and evenly, and one does not want to interfere with it. He sat by the well in the lower corridor, listened to how the water moved quietly somewhere underground. 9 months ago, March. The crack on the ceiling of the apartment in Seoul. The phone on the bedside table 5 months until the beginning. Then he got up, poured water from the tap, opened the notebook, wrote one word. Shelter, it stands. It holds. 31 people will stay in it. They may survive, they may not. But it stands. And tomorrow 76 people are leaving. Compass north. Warmth in his pocket. He took it out. Not the compass, something else. A small vial. Transparent with dark liquid inside. Engraved on the glass, one word in Latin. Calor, heat. Drop. Received item, Calor thermoregulation suspension. Rarity, epic description. When taken orally, temporarily reduces the body's sensitivity to extreme heat for 6 to 8 hours. Does not protect completely but gives a critical reserve of time in emergency situations without a suit. Volume 12 doses. The drop chance had been 1.8% system note. Save it. 1 dose is 1 life in a critical moment. 12 doses. He sat and looked at the vial in the darkness. 1 dose, 1 life. The system knows that ahead there will be a moment when someone will end up without a suit at a critical temperature. 12 times. It does not say who. It does not say when. It simply gives a tool. He put the vial into the chest pocket. Closer, not into the side pocket. stood up, listened to the shelter for another second, its breathing, the hum of the ventilation system that he and So-yeon had built together, quiet voices somewhere in the living section. Goodbye. He went to the exit from the lower corridor. At the turn, So-yeon, standing by the wall. She was not waiting specifically for him, just standing there. Sometimes she did that at night when she could not sleep. She would come out into the corridors and just stand. He stopped. Not sleeping, she said. No. She looked at him, afraid. Regularly, he said, like that first time when she had asked. But you do not show it. When I show it, people get more afraid. I do not get more afraid when you are afraid, said So-yeon. Why? Because then I see that you are human. Pause. That is calming. He looked at her. Chance analysis did not switch on. The system was silent. There are moments the system does not analyze. So-yeon, Mr. Junso, he said. Yes, we will get there. 73%, she said. No, he thought. Now more. Why more? Because we have a mechanic, a chemistry teacher, a literature teacher, a climatologist, an agronomist, medics, a virologist, a ventilation engineer, another engineer, a radio amateur, and Hyun-soo, who knows how to organize people when he has decided he is on the right side. Pause. And 21 children who need to get somewhere. So-yeon looked at him for a long time. And the compass, she said. And the compass. Silence. The shelter was breathing around them. Sleep, said So-yeon. Tomorrow the last day. The day after tomorrow. Departure. Yes? She walked away, stopped without turning around. Junso, Mr. Junso. Yes, I am glad that you stopped me then. Pause. By the shop window. He looked at her back. 58%, he said. She laughed quietly into the darkness of the corridor. Left. Junso stood there, took out the compass. The needle north. 6th of October, departure, 1,000 kilometers. Icebreaker, Sea of Japan, Murmansk, 73% and right.